Welcome to the Real and Real Estate Podcast, your go-to show for real estate success. Whether you're an agent aiming to crush it or a buyer or seller wanting the inside scoop, we're here to deliver expert advice, insider tips, and the real talk you need. Each episode, we chat with top industry pros to give you the facts, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive in this business. Let's dive in and make big moves together. Hi, welcome back to the Real and Real Estate, where we talk to the experts to get the facts. And today I have a wonderful expert with me. I have Eric Bernstein. He's with LendFriend Mortgage, and he is a veteran administration loan expert. And I'm very excited because we've not had this as a topic of discussion before, and it's really one that needs to be had. So thank you, Eric. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Well, why don't you give us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll start talking about veteran loans.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm the president and co-founder of LendFriend Mortgage based in Austin, Texas. We started this company in 2017. So we've been doing this for 9 years. I've been in the mortgage industry for 10 years. Since we started LendFriend Mortgage, we've done over $1.5 billion of residential transactions across
Wow.
15 different states. And yes, like you mentioned, we specialize in VA loans. I specifically started my career just in the VA space in 2016. And so I've done thousands of VA transactions. It's something that we're very passionate about, helping our veterans and our active duty members.
So I think that's fabulous. I have several friends that are veterans, and two of them have utilized that wonderful feature, veteran loans. They also do USAA, et cetera. And I have another friend who's a veteran and has never ever used his VA benefits, and that is so sad. So I also know not any lender can do this. There's a little more knowledge and experience required. So I'm very excited that you're here.
Yes,
And
thank you.
yeah, so let's talk about this. I know a lot of people, just even the veterans, don't realize what their options are.
Yes, the biggest issue with VA loans is it is underutilized, right? Grossly underutilized by our vets and active duty members. And also like the under education about such a great product, right? There is no
Yeah.
mortgage that's better than a VA loan. There's no private mortgage insurance. The interest rates are lower. There's a streamlined refinance that's offered to anyone who's on a VA loan. And so it's really the best product out there. But unfortunately, there's a lot of misconceptions that have to do with old stigmas. Talking 10, 15, 20 years ago, the way that VA loans used to work. And so unfortunately, that's all carried forward. And so you have kind of like what you see now, which is an underutilization of one of the better products, the best product on the market. And so, the biggest, travesty here is just underutilization, undereducation. It comes down to as real estate professionals, it's on us to educate the market, educate listing
Yes.
agents, buying agents, and realtors, and also title reps on how to properly do these loans. Because, vets, active duty members, they've sacrificed so much. And so they should be able to
Yes.
chase homeownership easier and provide a path that's simpler than everybody else. And so, yeah, that's kind of unfortunately what you've seen even over the last 5 years is a continued deterioration of utilization when it comes to this product.
Well, they deserve every benefit they can get. So why don't we start by clearing up some of these myths that people still have in their head from 10 years ago? What are some of the mistaken information that people have?
Yeah, I think the biggest one has to do with the appraisal, right? Most listing agents believe that the VA appraisal is much more stringent, much more strict compared to a regular appraisal. And that's really not the case anymore, right? There are very specific things that, that VA appraisers look for compared to like a conventional appraisal.
Right.
But they're very minor. And so it's not something like it used to be where like the appraisal would be a deal killer in any sense. And so they're just a little bit more thorough. But that has nothing to do with the impact of price or valuation. And so it used to be this thought that these appraisers that represented the VA were much stricter and you'd have a much harder time making value. And that's just the data doesn't support that claim whatsoever. So like on a VA appraisal, they miss value at the same exact clip as any other type of loan program. So sellers should feel confident, listing agents should feel confident accepting the like a VA offer just like any other. Where it becomes a little bit I don't want to say difficult, but the biggest thing that VA appraisers are looking at is basically are there any types of hazards for the veteran or the active duty member, right? So
Right.
if your home is in tip-top shape and there's really no major issues with it, you're not going to have any type of issue working with the VA appraiser.
So they're not nitpicking, they're looking for major safety issues, sounds
Correct.
like.
Yes, absolutely. And just like any other program, the appraiser has the ability to market subject to. The seller has the ability to get it to where the appraiser is asking it to be. So, for example, if there's no floors, that's not going to pass, conventional. It's not going to pass, on a VA appraisal.
Anything. Yeah.
Exactly. So then it's marked subject to, just like any other appraisal process, and then the seller has the ability to rectify the issue. And so, yeah, we don't run into any of these types of issues that you wouldn't see otherwise on any other type of loan program.
Right. And we would hope the inspector caught it before the appraiser did anyway, to be
Exactly.
perfectly honest. If
Yes.
everybody's doing as they should and get an
Right.
inspection. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So what, so you think, so education, we've got the veterans don't realize the benefits that they have. So I guess as a real estate agent, first of all, we need to make sure if they are a veteran, that we get them to the right person to find out what their benefits are.
Yeah. Um, So the issue, like you mentioned at the beginning of this interview, is there are nuances to VA loans, right? They are, however, the easiest loan to qualify for. They're the least strict with the most amount of flexibility, but there's a lot of nuance, right? There's a lot of nuance just dealing with vets and active duty members with their employment situation, especially if they are active duty. So you want to work with a professional that has a lot of experience in this space and that can close confidently but also be able to educate the consumer, about the process, about the benefits that they have, and kind of make sure that any kind of red flags are at least addressed up front, and that way provide a smooth transaction to everybody involved, right? So working with a pro,
Yes.
working with somebody that specializes in the space, I think is key. That's not to say that like it's rocket science by any means, but there's
It's
nuance.
different. Yeah,
Yes.
it's different. So are there any differences with the interest rate on a VA loan versus a non-VA loan?
Yeah, absolutely. Compared to conventional, usually the spread is about a half point better to 75 basis points
Whoa,
better, yeah, than a conventional or a
that's
jumbo loan.
fantastic.
Yeah, and so they have typically the best interest rates along with FHA. But FHA has private mortgage insurance where VA doesn't have
Right.
any private mortgage insurance, right? You can do up to 100% financing. And so they're the softest interest rates of all loan programs is of course on our VA loans. It's one of the benefits, right? They sacrifice so much, they get the lowest interest rates. It's yeah, it's great.
I think that's wonderful. Yes.
Yes.
I think I had read that there's about 8% of the mortgages out there are veteran mortgages, and I'm pretty sure there's more than our population of veterans is a larger percentage than that. So
Yeah.
I wonder I guess they're just going straight to the conventional or FHA without even knowing.
Yeah, I think when the housing market was on fire, during COVID, 2020,
Yes.
beginning part of
Yes.
2022, we saw really a lot of active duty members and veterans wanting to be able to compete on the quick timelines and present the best type of offer. And like we already talked about, there's so much misinformation about VA loans. And so you saw this
Mm.
kind of this epidemic of just the veterans trying to present like everybody else. And it's really not great for them because they have a much superior loan product that they can be using. And so at that point in the early 2020s, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, utilization was at 12%. And so since then, in a
Wow.
cooling and slowing down housing market, we've actually seen it get worse. So it's a problem that's unfortunately not going away, even in a much softer housing market, which is very unfortunate.
That's very unfortunate because I want them to get all the benefits that they can. Well, what other misconceptions do you run across very commonly that we can address here?
So yeah, I mean, one of the bigger ones is just like we talked about, right? The seller or the listing agent believes that there is just
If there's
inherently
an issue.
risk, right? And so when they see 100% financing, which is one of the best benefits of the VA loans, is
Right.
0% down, they think it like as a knock against the veteran, like that they're not qualified, that they why are they doing 0% down? Well, that's one of the best perks. So why wouldn't they do 0% down? Right? Most people, the average down payment for first-time home buyers is 4%. The average down payment in general right now is 8%. But I guarantee you, if everybody could do 0% down, you would see that move to 1 or 2%. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions is they look at it and they're looking at the down payment and they knock that against the veteran, like, oh, this person must not have any money or not have any assets. Like this, they think that this is inherently more risk. But like we talked about, the best thing that you can do is work with professionals that specialize in the space and
Yes.
get ahead of it. So for us, anytime we have a veteran making an offer, we get ahead of it. And this is the most important thing we teach like loan officers and realtors is have your lender call the listing agent. Have them explain this and take 5 minutes to educate them because most of them, again, are carrying stigmas and carrying yeah, misinformation that may have been relevant 10, 20, 30 years ago that's no longer relevant. Um, there is an escape clause, right, in VA in most VA contracts. And so the veteran, if the appraisal misses, they can get out of the contract, right? That's again another perk or another
You know
benefit.
what? That's the same for everybody. If it doesn't
Exactly.
appraise, it's the
Correct. Yeah,
same.
unless you waive your contingency, which
Well,
again,
yes,
in most markets, which are buyer markets right now, that's not the
it's
case.
not going to happen.
Right, exactly. So,
We saw
um,
that during COVID, but not now.
exactly. So you should see utilization increasing, and the fact that it's not increasing is, unfortunately, it falls back on us as real estate professionals. It means we're just simply not doing a good enough job educating.
Well, and you know what? As a realtor, I need to make sure I converse with that listing agent when I have a VA loan to explain to them that this person's really well qualified. This is just a benefit of the program because there are also lenders out there that do programs for doctors and lawyers. They don't have to put anything down.
Yeah.
So I think total communication, and I love the idea of having you call the listing agent to explain
Yes.
because that's just wonderful. And now, time for a short break.
Hi, my name is Greg with Graceful Moves Moving and Storage. And with over 1,500 five-star reviews, we're one of the #1 moving companies in the greater Houston area. We specialize in everything from local moves and long distance, packing and unpacking, storage solutions, and so much more. If you guys have any questions or if there's any way that we can serve you, contact us at 713-280-7990. That's 713-280-7990. Thanks.
Yeah, another big misconception that not enough people talk about, um, there's really no limit to a VA loan, right? So typically you
Well, I
have to,
thought there was. Okay.
yeah, so there's there's conforming loan limits, right? So in
Right.
most right now it's 832 500. And so, for anyone else that's not on a VA loan, that pushes you into jumbo territory, right?
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Right.
and so we get a lot of, because we're based in Austin, Texas, we get a lot of VA jumbos, right? Jumbos meaning just above that limit. But
Right.
it is a typical traditional VA loan that closes just as fast, just as quick, and doesn't have a cap. And I can't tell you how many times we have clients making jumbo offers on VA, and the listing agent calls me and is like, hey, this like you must have something wrong in your pre-approval. This can't be right. I thought they're capped. I thought there's a limit. And that's not the case whatsoever. We've closed $4.5 million, 100% financing VA loans. And so it's another misconception, like the vets and active duty members who want to buy, $1 million or $2 million or $3 million
Right.
place, they feel like they have to go to jumbo. They have to go to, their corner bank and to go through
Wow.
the strenuous process that is qualifying for jumbos where
Right.
they need to. They can just, again, stay on the VA loan.
That's fabulous to know because I was under a misconception on that also. And
Yeah.
again, education, which is one of the reasons I do this podcast. So this is perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Another thing I have a question about the Johnny has a VA loan on his house. He wants to buy another house.
Mhm.
Um, I know you can only have one VA loan at a time, right?
No, that's another misconception.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Tell us how this works.
Yes. So, okay. Based on their service record, they get eligibility. Okay. And they can get bonus eligibility. And the lender has to do a calculation based on the loan amount. Okay. So
Okay.
you can have multiple, depending on what price point, you can have multiple VA loans based on your eligibility,
Whoa.
again, based on your service record. So someone that has a lengthy service record, 6 years, 8 years, they might have enough bonus entitlement that they could finance multiple, 500, $800,000 VA loans. And so it's a very simple calculation that the lender does. It's based on you basically pull their certificate of eligibility, you plug in the numbers, and you can calculate their eligibility. And the process of moving
Okay.
eligibility over is another misconception that we hear a lot from listing agents. They're like, well, we don't want to accept a contingent offer that has VA loan because they have to go through that process of, reestablishing the eligibility. And I get that, right? From 20 years ago, where it would take 5, 7, 10 business days and everything was a
Wow.
manual process. Now you can close same day, reestablish the entitlement within an hour with the VA online and on the phone, and that person can fund the same day. So it's a very, very quick process to reestablish it. And it's on the lender, not the client, not the realtors. It's on the lender to do the heavy lifting there, and it's a very simple process.
Fantastic. Now, what if a veteran has their VA loan in their house and they want to buy a little cottage on the beach? Can they?
Um, Sorry, one more time. I had to look at my phone here.
Okay. Sure, no problem. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I have a VA loan. I've got my house here, but you know what? I'm doing really well. I want a little cottage on the beach that I can go to on the weekends. Can you get a second VA loan?
Can you get a second VA loan for a second home? Is that what you're
Second
asking?
home. Yes, I'm sorry.
Uh,
Yes, thank you for wording it properly.
Yes. No, you cannot
Okay.
use it for a second home or an investment property. There are very special cases in which you can, but the blanket rule is pretty much, unfortunately, no. It's only for a primary product. So yeah, I mean, there's nuance to it. You can always look to make an exception in the gray area, but the fast and hard rule is basically only primary residences.
Okay, well, good. I had that fact correct then. Good.
Yes. Yeah. That one
Now,
is.
I know you, okay, I know you mentioned you have several other states that you work into in case there's someone listening that outside of Texas. You can do loans in
Yes,
other states?
we
Okay.
can. Yep, we are licensed in 15 states. So Georgia,
Wow.
Virginia, California, Colorado, New Jersey. Did I say Virginia?
No,
Texas, of
not yet.
course. Okay, Texas, Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, and we're always looking to add more. So it's just as we pick
What
up
about
business
Florida?
and
What about
Florida.
Florida? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I'm originally from Florida, and so that's where I started my
Oh,
career. Yes. Yeah, we do a lot of business in Florida. Yep.
okay. Well, I'm in Houston, so we're just neighbors.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I know we will give your contact information and everything if people want to call and talk to you about a VA loan. But what else do you want to talk about right now that people that you think are prohibiting people from knowing about this product or asking about this product? How do we get the word out? What do we do other than things like this? Is there anything
Yeah.
else we can do?
Well, I think this is a big step, right? More people talking about it, I think is key. And then, like I talked about, I think it's more so on the real estate professionals to get on to bases, to be where the hot pockets of VA business are, just to get ahead of it, to educate them young and early. We do see once they do one successful transaction, especially if they're active duty, if they get, restationed to a different base, a lot of times they'll start racking up, investment properties. They leave that one, they turn into a rental. They buy a new one, they turn into a rental. And so that can be a very successful model. And it was, again, much, much more popular, unfortunately, 10 years ago, when prices
Yeah,
were lower and there wasn't so much of an affordability crisis. But with the affordability crisis that's happening right now, it's, again, even more pressing that we do a better job getting in front of active duty members, because eventually they turn into our vets. And the more that they know up front, the more that they can start to game plan towards it. And so again, that's the biggest thing is I think this is a great channel. Just being able to, talk about it is the first step.
right, right. That's fabulous. I did have one relative that it was not working with because they didn't live here, but they had gone to a lender that said, "Oh yeah, I know how to do VA loans." No, they didn't. So they had to stop that and find someone that did. So it's very important if you're are a veteran and you're wanting to use your benefit, make sure the person you talk to is someone like Eric that knows what they're doing and has done it many times before, because there are so many things, as you said, nuances that the average lender probably isn't going to know. Do you think
Yeah,
that's a fair statement?
I think it's so fair. Look, no knock against anyone in our industry who tries
No, absolutely.
right, who tries extremely hard, but I think that it's on the active duty member, on our veterans to ask the pressing questions, because the average loan officer does 2 units a month, right? And so if they do 20 deals a year, there's nothing wrong with a veteran or active duty member or even the realtor saying, hey, of the lender, how many of these transactions that you're doing are actually VA transactions? Because most loan officers will go a year, 2 years, 5 years without doing these types of loans. And so that is where it becomes problematic, because like we talked about earlier, it's not rocket science. There's just nuance to it and understanding
Right.
like right the right
Keeping up with the nuances.
exactly. And being able to move these loans smoothly, move them forward and take care of our active duty and veterans. Like one thing that you have like there's Vets United, right? There are very specific niche lenders out there that do a really good job pushing this narrative and really doing a great job again educating the consumer and going direct to
Yes.
consumer. Right? We specialize in these types of loans. Unfortunately, what we see from our side as lenders, they're very they're very overpriced, right? Because they're going direct to the consumer. They feel like they have a little bit of a monopoly. There's not a ton of competition, and the vets and active duty members like that. It's called Vets United, right? So the
Yeah.
biggest thing that I always tell our vets and our active duty members and our realtors is like, if you see these very niche companies, you should tell them go get a quote from a local broker or a local lender that specializes in VA loans, because a lot of times they'll save 1-2% off closing costs compared to those types of lenders, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? That's very much okay. Tread lightly here, because big banks, big lending institutions are oftentimes, not always, oftentimes higher
Hmm.
and less responsive than going to a mortgage broker.
Yes, agreed. Yep.
So it's kind of the same scenario there, I think,
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
Okay, I'm looking at my notes here.
Sure.
I've read that there's nearly $28 billion per year in unused VA borrowing capacity
Right.
benefits.
Yeah,
That's
28 billion.
mind-boggling,
Yeah.
mind-boggling. Okay,
Yes.
we definitely have to get more information out there. Okay, well, what else would you like to share with the public here, Eric, on this subject?
I mean, I think we've done a great job covering most of the hot topics when it comes to
Hmm.
VA loans, and the biggest thing, like I've said so many times, is just getting out there, talking more about it,
Educate.
re-educating the public. And look, I think there's amazing tools online. Like we see a lot of our business coming from ChatGPT or from Google or these AI models in which the veterans and active duty members are taking on themselves to educate themselves, and I think that's a really important thing. And we're starting to see a shift where they don't need to pick up the phone and call a lender that may or may not, understand what they're talking about. So that's something that we're seeing actively in our business is they want this relevant information, right? We have a blog, we have a lot of blog posts about this topic in particular, and it gets a lot of traffic because again, there people are craving this information. It's just we need to do a better job, getting the information out there and to as many people as possible.
Okay, brief public service announcement. I think AI is wonderful, but please, whatever you find on chat, call Eric and
Verify.
find out if it's the truth or not.
Absolutely agreed.
Okay. Well, Eric, tell us your website, any contact information you want to give us. Give us the name of your company again.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's LendFriend Mortgage, really easy to remember. And our website is lendfriendmtg as in mortgage.com.
Great.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and we have really robust learning center there. We have a ton of articles. We
Oh,
probably
good.
have 200 like plus posts on our blog. I would say there's probably 30 that focus on the nuance of VA loans. So if you ever want to educate yourself or you're a realtor listening, you can use our website. Just type in the term VA loan or whatever specific term you want to learn about. It's a great resource, not just for consumers, but for realtors and lenders as well.
So they can get to your blog from your website then,
Yep,
just to
absolutely.
clarify.
Yep.
Good.
Just hit
One-stop
lending
shop.
expert. Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
lendfriendmtg.com.
Yes.
Wonderful. And we will have that, like I said, at the bottom of the podcast. Well, Eric, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was fabulous. I learned something. Not that I thought I thought I knew a lot, but I didn't know everything. So this is very helpful. I really
Okay.
appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
anyone out
Thank you.
there that is even thinking about using your VA benefits, give him a call. Check out his website.
Gene Mitchell, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Gene.
Eric.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Real and Real Estate Podcast. I hope today's insights have inspired and empowered you. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast with anyone who might benefit. Have questions or a topic you'd like us to explore? We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay informed, stay inspired, and keep moving towards success.